welcome everybody right here. It's Talkin' Sports with me, Chris Powers, and we've got lots to talk about today. We've got the Pelicans to talk about. We've got LSU baseball, softball. Also, we've got the Zurich Classic, and of course, the big draft was this past week, and we'll talk about the Saints and what we think that their draft grade was. And then, of course, we talk about LSU and all the Louisiana players that went in the big draft last week, and it was huge, no question about that. This program is seen 5 times a week, and it's also seen in about 2 million households around the Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Lafayette area, some parts of Livingston, Ascension Parish, also Morgan City. So you can see us all over on Cox Sports, on Cox Cable channel right here on Pelican Sports Network. All right, the NFL draft happened. Detroit broke a monster record with the biggest crowd. There's no way in the world, as much as I love sports, there's no way in the world I'm sitting 70 or 80 deep in that crowd from the stage. You can see ants down there. It's like you're sitting on the top of the Superdome watching the Final Four. No way in the world would I ever do that. Look, I'd rather stay home, watch it. It's closer and all that stuff. That's crazy. But anyway, people went out there anyway. They broke a record in Detroit. Now, basically, the NFL says we want to have these draft parties in places that can't host the Super Bowl. So if you're wanting to know if New Orleans will ever get it, probably not. New Orleans will probably never get the draft there because of the fact that Detroit will probably never host another Super Bowl. So that's unbelievable with that. So that's something that you definitely want to know and see. All right, so let's talk about Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels, LSU's first player to be drafted this year. And this is how it is for Jayden Daniels to be called out by the commissioner. Let's go to that clip right now.
With the second pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select Jayden Daniels, quarterback, LSU.
So congratulations, Jayden Daniels, getting selected as the second pick. His agent was upset the week before because of the fact that Jayden Daniels, along with other quarterbacks, went to Washington, kind of an interview kind of thing, and Jayden Daniels' agent was not very happy with that at all because of the fact that, hey, if you're going to stick with us, you need to stick with us. Stop shopping around. You want us or whatever. So Jayden Daniels talked to the media after he was selected, to the Washington media, and this is what he had to say.
Honestly, they did a pretty good job. Not showing their hand too much, but the conversation I had, I was pretty confident. Basically off the conversation that we had, I was able to come here and fit into the Commanders team. I'm here now. I can't wait to get to work. It was awesome. I mean, Coach DQ is a great guy that, a lot of people speak highly of, but who he is as a person and how he cares about his players. So I was excited to be around him, and it's just the offensive staff. Their track record speaks for itself. Obviously, Cliff was over there with Kyler and what he did as a head coach. And for quite some time, he had Kyler in the MVP conversation. So I was excited to be able to just chop it up and talk ball with them. No, I mean, it's other great candidates that were able to be the number 2 overall pick. So I'll never look at it like that. God put me in this position. Obviously, my story is written, and I'm just following the path of following his lead. So if it wasn't meant for me to be here, then, there's great other quarterbacks that could have been here too. But I'm excited to get to work now. Obviously, it's a new regime there, and, I'm excited just to come in and really just change the culture and, help the team win in each and every way that I can. Come in, work hard, and, we'll see where the course takes itself. He was excited and respected my journey. He respected how hard I work, the amount of work that I put in to get to this point now. So that's pretty much what he said. A competitor, a leader, but somebody that just wants to win at all costs and help the team win no matter what, because it's team first always. So I'm excited.
All right, so that's Jayden Daniels talking about his experience and everything like that. Yeah, he's got a whole new staff at Washington. New head coach in Dan Quinn and new offensive coordinator in Cliff Kingsbury. Now, Cliff Kingsbury is good. He was the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals last stint in the NFL. He was a consultant to USC, passing consultant to USC last year. But he works better, I think, as a coordinator. And maybe a head coach in college, he's not bad. Of course, he was the head coach of Texas Tech, who was, of course, the head quarterback from some quarterback in Kansas City that is dominating the league right now. So he is a good fit. Jaden Daniels going right there to the Washington Commanders. And right now, the roster has 0 quarterbacks on. They have to go get 2 new quarterbacks to try and see to follow up. I'm assuming, Jonathan, I know you've got a mic, so do you think that he's going to get the start at Washington to start off with?
Absolutely.
I think so too.
There's nobody in the room that's better than Jaden Daniels. He gives you the best opportunity to win. If it breaks down with the pass, he can absolutely hurt defenses with his legs. So, in my opinion, there's no doubt he is day one starter.
They went 4-13 last year. Now, my question is, will he go back to his first season at LSU? Because remember, you can see Brian Kelly on the sideline saying, throw the ball. When he left the Pac-12 to come to the SEC, he was not used to the speed. He wasn't used to the speed. And I'll never forget, again, Cam Newton, first time in 7-on-7 drills in Carolina Panthers, went back for a 3-step drop back, looked back, and the receivers were 30 yards down the field. So if he thought the SEC to the Pac-12 was unbelievable, wait till he gets to the NFL. So my question is, do you think he might revert back to his first year at LSU when you could see Brian Kelly on the sideline in one of those day games, I can't remember which one it was, throw the ball. Throw the ball. He wasn't trusting his receivers, so he would either keep it, get sacked, or run and or pass the ball out of bounds. Hopefully he won't go back to that first year.
No, right. In the first year, it really was a struggle. LSU's offense was kind of in survival mode, self-admittedly. And Jaden Daniels had a game where he went like 2 for 15, had 79 yards, some horrible stats. I do not think he'll go back to that form. Obviously, there will be a learning curve. The NFL is far more faster across the board. Defensive linemen, linebackers in the secondary, all much faster. Windows much smaller, but Jaden Daniels drastically improved not only his long ball, but his back shoulder ball, his time and throws over the middle. He was an accomplished passer last season, and he really showed he can throw the ball all over the field at his pro day. It didn't drop a pass. Very few passes were on the ground. Great balls all over the field. So much more accomplished than his first year at LSU. That only speaks to his work ethic because he really did put in a lot of work to improve not only his timing but his deep ball and his accuracy. So I don't think he'll revert back to that first year at LSU, but it is going to be a learning curve, no doubt, for him at the Commanders.
Yeah. It just takes time. No question about that. It just takes time. Not everybody can do what C.J. Stroud has done at Houston or obviously Joe Burrow did at Cincinnati. But this is going to be an interesting situation. So Washington, and there's tons of people wanting to bring it back to the Redskins. That'll never happen because of the fact that some of the part owners, which is a new owner now, Dan Snyder's not the owner of this team, they threatened to sue Dan Snyder if they didn't change the name to get the Redskins out. But now all of a sudden, the Indian Nation wants the Redskins name back. I don't ever think it'll come back. But anyway, most people still call it the Washington Redskins. It's crazy. So will he be able to run like he did at LSU? I don't think, obviously, he will not be able to. Because when you've got the National Football League, you've got 9 out of 11 players that can run the 40 in less than 4.5. Definitely less than 5 flat. And you've got probably half of those, if not more, can run less than 4.5 flat. So they can run the 40. There's a lot of speed. That game against the Florida Gators, remember that game where he ran those touchdowns? It's like the players were standing still. Kind of reminded me of the old Sammy Martin when he played for LSU, and the Texas A&M game where he ran. It looked like A&M players were sitting still. No way he'll be able to run like that, but he will be able to run some ways in the National Football League, as great as his athleticism is.
He will be able to gain some yards on the ground. I completely agree. It will not be the same as he was running in college. One glaring instance, Jaden Daniels is going to have to learn to get down, protect himself, and slide. He took way too many huge shots for LSU. Most of the time, he bounced right back up. He's a very tough kid, but he has got to learn to better protect himself in the pros.
And word is that not only the coaching staff for Buffalo, but also the management told the same thing to their quarterback, Josh Allen. You got to start learning how to slide. He doesn't do it. He still does not do it. And one day he's going to be gone for the whole season. And you almost sometimes never come back from that when something like that happens. So hopefully Jaden Daniels will learn, because those linebackers, you're getting the best of the best right here. There's no question about that. So he's going to have to definitely play what he needs to do. I think he's a better passer than Jackson. I mean, everybody's still up on Lamar Jackson, wins a MVP award, this and that. I don't know if he's going to ever win a championship. Every time I've watched Lamar Jackson, I see a wide open guy. He missed him. That game he played in the Superdome a couple of years ago. Are you kidding me? Wide open slots. I'm still not a Lamar Jackson fan. I think he's a better passer than Lamar Jackson, and I think that'll show this year. So congratulations, Jaden Daniels, the number 2 pick in the NFL draft. Well, Malik Neighbors was not far behind him. He was 4 spots behind. He got drafted to the New York Giants, the number 6 pick in the draft. And, of course, we've got some highlights right here from Malik Neighbors. Mike DeBall was here in LSU in the pro day. He loved him. Right from immediately start, he wanted to have Malik Neighbors on this team. Look, they passed up quarterbacks in Penix Jr. and J.J. McCarthy to get him because they feel he is that special of a player. He's the all-time leading receptions leader at LSU at 189. He's also 3,003 yards, is the all-time receiving yardage record as well. He can play inside or outside slot with no problem. There he runs the field very well. That's the Army game right there. That was absolutely beautiful. Watch Jaden Daniels get back. That was the inside slot guy. And look how he makes people miss like that. Isn't that unbelievable? And just an amazing, amazing player. He can do the inside or outside slot. He can also run the slant, or he can run the jet sweep as well. This is a guy that's very fast. He has a nose for big plays. Got off to a rocky start with LSU, dropping those 2 punt returns in that Florida State game 2 years ago in the Superdome. But boy, has he come back after that. Look at that. Keeps 1 foot in. That's illegal in the NCAA college game, but it's not legal in the NFL. You have to learn to put those 2 down. But look how he makes people miss. And that's what DeBall loved about him at the Giants. He just makes people miss and get down that football field. He's very unbelievable. So I think Malik Neighbors is going to be great at that for the Giants, the number 6 pick. I think this is DeBall's last year if he doesn't improve this. So he had to get somebody. So they decided they're going to keep their quarterback room. They got 3 quarterbacks on their team. They're going to keep their quarterbacks. They're going to go with the competition, and they wanted to get their quarterbacks a big weapon to throw to. And again, DeBall loved Neighbors as soon as he saw him when he came for the LSU Pro Day. Nick Saban on the game day set said that Malik Neighbors is going to be his preseason pick as Offensive Rookie of the Year. And that was big for Nick Saban. Nick Saban said that we faced this guy twice, and definitely he's a very big player, no question about that. All right, let's take a look at the other one. Also in the first round, Brian Thomas Jr. goes to Jacksonville at number 23. Jacksonville Jaguars end up getting 3 LSU players. This guy, Thomas, a little slow out of the gate, but Jets to make up for it. He is the second in the combine with a 4.33 speed in the 40. And his footwork, if he can work on his footwork, and he struggled with that in the LSU Pro Day, if he can work on his footwork, he's going to be fine. He could be one of the fastest receivers in the National Football League with 4.33. He has to concentrate on his footwork. He struggled on the pro day at that here at LSU. He's got good makeup skills on the deep ball. He has a nose for the end zone with 17 touchdowns last year, which led the nation. Not only led LSU, but led the nation in the most touchdown receptions for the season. See how he gets going, a slow start get going, but then all of a sudden he burns the speed up as soon as he catches the football and when he knows the football is in the air, and that's called separation right there, and that separation, and that's where he goes in and he dives for the end zone, and that's what makes him great. He's great on the in traffic too. Look at this, in traffic right there. That was an unbelievable play against the Ole Miss Rebels. He caught it in traffic, a 50-50 ball. He'll get it most of the time right there. That was a hook, and now he's going on the fly pattern. Bam. That was against Army. Look how beautiful that was. Just to concentrate on catching the football. Most of the balls that come his way, he catches it. He's going to a place where he's got a good quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, and he'll get better. Lawrence had 4,106 yards last season and 21 touchdowns. Now he's got a brand-new weapon in Trevor Lawrence, in Brian Thomas Jr. I think he's going to start ASAP there as well. So, Jonathan, got to ask you the question. Both Neighbors and Thomas, LSU is turning in from DBU, and I think we'll have more DBUs come back here, but now we're turning into wide receiver U. And the only difference between Ohio State can call themselves DBU and also wide receiver U is because of the fact they get more players drafted at that position. However, LSU shows up in pros more. They're in more Pro Bowls, all pro teams and what have you. I mean, it's still going on. So LSU right now with 2 great receivers right here going in the NFL, that's huge for wide receiver U.
Wide receiver in good standing right now. And, the New York Giants, they love their LSU receivers. Go back to Odell Beckham Jr. And there's been some talk that New York should go grab Odell again and bring him back to the big city. And they need some more help. Daniel Jones, don't know if he's a quarterback of the future. And, they weren't really sold on a quarterback in this draft. So you go get your quarterbacks that you have. You mentioned the most explosive wide receiver, in my opinion, in the draft. Give me Malik Nabers every day of the week and twice on Sunday over Marvin Harrison Jr. They kind of made the Blitnikoff a 2-year award, but I absolutely believe Malik Nabers is the best receiver in college football last year. Brian Thomas, though, did have more touchdowns than Malik Nabers. This guy can absolutely fly, has that second and third gear, has more length than Malik Nabers, so he can go up and get that 50-50 ball. Both receivers going to do a great job in the NFL. I know they're getting ready to get with their new quarterbacks, their new system, but athleticism always translates to the NFL, and both these guys, what they can do after they get the ball in their hands, a yard after the catch, outstanding picks by both those teams. Got to mention the Jaguars getting 3 Tigers in the draft. They like their LSU Tigers. They like the pedigree. They know those kids are coming out of college, well coached. So, tip of your cap. Good luck to those young men. They're going to do the brand well in the NFL.
Yeah, the only thing that bothered me about Thomas, like I said, I watched his footwork in the LSU Pro Day. And his footwork, he did it twice, and he got frustrated and just left. He stopped doing it after that because he missed them both times. So that's the only thing he's got to do, because those cornerbacks, buddy, they're pros. They're the best of the best, and they will stick to you big time. Like you said, so I would think that Matt House had a big influential on getting the 2 defensive players for LSU. I did not think Mason Smith should go out, but he got second round. He is a huge specimen. This guy's wingspan is big. He's a big player, 6'5", 6'6". He's unbelievable, but he did not have a good year. He had a good end of the year, and especially the bowl game he played well. That was big. But Mason Smith goes number 2, or the second pick to the Jaguars. That was huge. The other guy they got was also another defensive lineman, defensive tackle Jordan Jefferson, went to the Jaguars. I'm assuming Matt House, if I can get it out right. Matt House had a big thing in getting him there. Jordan Jefferson went 4th round in the draft. Other Louisiana players, 6th round defensive tackle Wingo went to Detroit. I think that's a good part. I was shocked that he went 6th round. Also in the 6th, Jaquan Jackson, wide receiver from Tulane, went to the Tennessee Titans. 7th round, offensive tackle Nathan Thomas went to the Dallas Cowboys. Michael Pratt. This shocks me, Jonathan. This shocks me. A lot of people, a lot of scouts, and a lot of media people were thinking that Michael Pratt would go higher. They said this guy has potential to be one of those steals in quarterbacks. He went to the 7th round to the Dallas Cowboys, to the Green Bay Packers. This could be a steal right here. Michael Pratt has done well at Tulane.
This is a big reason why everybody's gushing over the Packers draft. To get a guy in the 7th round that you bring Tulane from complete irrelevance to go beat USC in a bowl game. Did an unbelievable job. Rewrote the record book at Tulane. A 4-year starter. He's got the size, got the arm strength. 6 quarterbacks taken in the first 12 picks, Chris. Unprecedented. The quarterback run was crazy. You wait till the 5th round comes around for the Saints to pick a quarterback, and then you kind of wait around. And Michael Pratt was on Mel's big board for a very long time, being one of the best top 10 available. Kid's got a lot of talent, very smart, head on his shoulders. Obviously went to Tulane. Coach Willie Fritz absolutely gushed about Michael Pratt in his last 2 seasons with the Green Wave. So, yeah, I was surprised to see him last that long. But, hey, there was another quarterback that went in the 7th round that ended up doing pretty good, winning about 6 or 7 Super Bowls. His name was Tom Brady. So It's not matter where you get picked. It matters what you do when you get picked. And, look, Green Bay's a good spot for Michael Pratt. You're going to sit behind Jordan Love, a program, a franchise that has a track record of developing quarterbacks. So, sit, take your time, a la Matt Flynn. You're going to get your shot eventually, and when you do have that opportunity, take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that most of the time your late draft quarterbacks are the ones that actually make it. I mean, you go back, like you said, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. You keep going on and on. Drew Brees. Those guys were picked late. Those guys usually picked early don't make it. I mean, C.J. Stroud's an example from last year. He made it. Obviously, we've had Joe Burrow from Cincinnati made it. But Joe has got to get help at that offensive line. The problem is that Joe Burrow, and this is a day for another story, but Joe Burrow getting all that money he got. The problem when you get that much money, notice Tom Brady and Drew Brees didn't get that kind of money, so they were able to go draft other players around you. When you get that kind of money that's bank money, now next year they're going to have a problem signing Jamar Chase because they ain't got enough money left to sign Jamar Chase. And then you're running back. You're going to lose wide receivers here and there. Offensive lineman is what you need. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. A total of 9 players from Louisiana schools that were drafted. There were other players that have ties to Louisiana that played for TCU or other schools like that, Florida State and what have you. But I'm not going to cover them because they left the state to go another where, and that's fine. Undrafted free agents signed with teams right after the draft was over. I don't know if there was any Southern players that signed unrestricted draft or unrestricted free agents, I should say. I'm going to look at that maybe and have it for you next week. Hopefully some Southern players went. Some Louisiana Raging Cajun players did go. Again, that was big for them. Draft day was huge. Louisiana's loaded with talent, no question about that. We're not finished with the draft coming up. We're going to talk about the Saints draft night and what grade do we give the Saints. And I'm going to tell you what my grade is, and then I'm going to show you what Dennis Allen had to say about that draft from this past week. We'll do that when we return as we continue to talk sports right here on Pelican Sports TV. Back in a moment.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouger. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouger today.
We already know that TJ Ribs on Acadian I-10 is home to the world-famous baby back ribs. But did you know they're also champs in catering events and the most delicious wings in Baton Rouge? TJ Ribs wings are flavored to perfection and starts a party in your mouth. Served with homemade wing sauce and ranch dressing. TJ Ribs can also cater any event, large or small, with the MVP, the Heisman, or even if you're feeling the Natty Package. Call 225-283-1035. Come enjoy a drink at the 50-foot bar and take a picture with the Heisman Trophy at TJ Ribs, a Baton Rouge original for over 30 years on Acadian and I-10. All right, welcome back, everybody, right here as we continue with, of course, Talking Sports with me, Chris Powers. And kind of something, breaking news. We're talking the NFL right now. Breaking news a little bit. If you're like the NFL today on CBS, Boomer Esiason and Phil Simms have been told, hit the pavement. They're out. They're gone. They've just been replaced just a few moments ago. Former Atlanta quarterback Matt Ryan is going to take his place. I thought he was weak. Phil Esiason I thought was good. Boomer Esiason. Phil Simms, there must be something with him. He's always had an attitude when he played, but remember he was the color analyst when the Saints won the Super Bowl with Jim Nantz, and he was moved out of the booth and into the CBS booth. So apparently that move has been made today. All right, the New Orleans Saints got to go in the draft, of course, late down in the draft. They were the 14th pick, and this is how it sounded when Commissioner Roger Goodell made his way to the stage.
With the 14th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Talkin Fuaga, tackle, Oregon State.
All right, I think that's an A pick. I think he was the third offensive tackle taken in the draft. That's what they needed to get him there. I mean, that's what I like about that. He's a good guy. Because the Saints only returned 2 starters at the offensive line. That's it. 2 returning starters at the end of last season. That's it. Looks like a possible right tackle, but, they needed guard play, too. That's one thing they didn't go after was guards, and they needed a guard. Possibly Ramchak's injury may be done for this season, maybe even his first career. I got a feeling Ramchak is not going to play next year. I just have a feeling. No, all the signs point to he's not going to play next season because of his injury, and there's even been word about it that he could actually have an early retirement because of that. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. They got to get more help. They got to get more free agents at the offensive tackle, and they need offensive guards as well. This guy, though, has quick feet. His upper body strength is unbelievable. The head of the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, bragged about this guy, said he was a beast upon beast. And he also looks to be disciplined, which is a good kid off the field. When he's on the field, he's a monster, but when he's off the field, he's a nice kid, and that's the kind of guy you want with good character. Jonathan, I'd like this pick big time for the Saints, an offensive tackle. But again, look, we love Penning. I love Penning like crazy when they drafted him. He's turned out to be a bust so far. Hopefully, he worked his butt off since he's been, he played in 6 games last year, 4 games a starter, and he was taken out, and he's huge, got great, tremendous speed, but he's a monster, and just didn't do anything. But I like who they've taken with that offensive tackle.
Absolutely a position of need. When James Hurst announces his retirement the day of the draft, you mentioned the Ramchak injury. Andrews Pete is also a free agent. You mentioned the Saints returned 2 offensive starters on the line. This guy's good. Didn't give up a sack in 3 years with the Beavers. You mentioned the toughness. Nasty on the football field, a bully, the kind of guy you want run blocking for your team. I agree. Looks like a right tackle. Could slide into guard, but the Saints are going to need him to play tackle. In a position of need, I thought they got one of the best ones in the draft. Joe Alt might have been the best tackle. I thought Fuaga was the second best tackle. And look, it's an absolutely position of need. There were, maybe more talented players on the board still, but the Saints absolutely hit it out the park. They needed a tackle, needed an offensive lineman, and Fuaga's going to fill that hole nicely. Like you said, Nagy said day 1 starter at the Senior Bowl. I looked for him to be a day 1 starter for the Saints.
No question, no question. Don't know if he'll be probably. It looks like he may be right tackle, so we're going to still need a left tackle. We're going to need a left tackle. There's no question about that. So we'll see how that happens. Kool-Aid McKinstry, from Alabama, comes to the Saints next in the second round. Now, the social media made it out to be where Kool-Aid wasn't happy that he was drafted by the Saints. I mean, the way he looked, he was horrible. Just like when you get up in the morning, Marty, he looked horrible. I mean, this guy looked bad. But anyway, so the social media made it when he wasn't happy. They didn't show the whole clip. That's when people say, when they say on TV that the media misquoted me, I'm like, how can they misquote you when you're on video? I know why. Because they shortened the clip. They shortened the clip with Kool-Aid to make it look like he didn't want to be drafted by the Saints. But I got the whole clip right here. This is the moment when Kool-Aid found out he was drafted by the Saints.
Yes, sir.
We're going to the Saints, bro.
See, that's why I don't like social media, because it made it look like, there's no accountability to social media. That look right there, that shows he was excited that he was drafted by the Saints big time. I like it. My question is, Jonathan, why did they draft him? Sometimes they go for the best available because that's one thing the Saints are stacked at, and that's DBs. And that's safeties and cornerbacks, no question about that. So my question is, okay, Lattimore was hurt for 7 games last year. The year before that, he was hurt even more games. So the last 2 years, it just so happens his locker is right next to Michael Thomas's locker in the Saints Superdome, and they both played at Ohio State. So it's kind of like, hey, man, you're not going to play. I'm not going to play either. It's kind of like that. Lattimore has been kind of in that situation. So my question is, did they draft him because of that? Because Adebo's got the other side locked down. So my question is, why did they draft him there at that second pick? Do you think that he could be a starter quick, or he could be maybe in the nickel package?
Well, Dennis Allen did say that he's going to get trained as a nickel corner in the slot, and the guy they had there last year, Alontae Taylor, they absolutely love out of Tennessee. The Saints lose Drake May, a guy who didn't really do a lot for the team when he came in from the Jets. It was a big free agent signing, never really worked out. So I believe this sign does a couple things. It lets Lattimore kind of work back into the rotation at corner, but it also kind of gives you another corner if you look at trading Lattimore, kind of free up some cap space in next season, which the Saints have been kicking the can down the road for the last 15 seasons. Eventually it's going to catch up with you. I would like to see Mickey Loomis be held accountable before he's out of town. Let him try to fix this problem with the salary cap. Let Mickey try to solve the problem that he created, trying to get Drew Brees to win the championship at the very end. I do believe this move is more about, giving some flexibility at that corner spot to potentially move Lattimore. Lattimore has been absolutely unbelievable for the Saints when he's been available. He was an absolute steal at 11 when the Saints got shafted by Kansas City to get Patrick Mahomes one pick in front of them. Lattimore has worked out unbelievably for the Saints. He was Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's been a lockdown corner when he is available. He's going to be owed a lot of money, which the Saints don't have, and the Saints have to allocate those resources somewhere else. And really, we're seeing the NFL is all about the allocation of resources. And I'm sure you'll get into talk about Atlanta and their number 8 pick and why that's such a big problem for that franchise. But the allocation of resources right now for Marshawn Lattimore in his, I think this is his 8th year in the league, dealt with hamstring injuries out of college. You don't know how much more elite football Marshawn Lattimore has into him. You don't want to pay him as a cornerback 1 when really, truly, it's not his fault. That football might be in his past. Right,
no question about that. He could be trade bait, no question. I have a lot of my old friends, and this is how fans think. And I love them to death because I'm part of a fan, obviously, too. I've got Saints gear, I've got LSU gear. But a lot of people say to me, man, Lattimore sucks. And I say, what do you mean Lattimore sucks? Well, you never hear anything about him. You don't want to hear anything about him. That means that the quarterbacks are not throwing in his direction. Yeah. That's when you hear that they're talking about a cornerback like crazy, and again, a cornerback, then that's when he's getting picked on, and he's getting picked on easy. They don't pick on Lattimore. Lattimore always has the top receiver that the opposing team has, and he shuts them down. Kool-Aid has played in 33 games at Alabama. Nick Saban loved this guy big time. So, again, Kool-Aid McKinstry is here at Saints. His family don't have far to travel to go and watch the Saints in the Superdome. I think that's going to be good. I give that an A-. Spencer Rattler comes in as a 5th-round pick by the Saints. He has got a monster arm on him. He's got a quick release. He's got good scrambling ability, but he's a little inconsistent over when he played at Oklahoma, then when he went to South Carolina. Now, South Carolina never had a good line for him ever. So I can understand that. At Oklahoma, he had a better record as the starter there, but he left for a reason. When Caleb Williams came in, obviously they felt he was the better quarterback than Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler is going to battle for that second spot. There's no question. There's not going to be any taking over car here. But my question, can Spencer Rattler really come in and be that number 2 guy? It's going to be interesting to see.
He's going to absolutely push Jake Haener to be that number 2 guy. I mean, both of these guys were the Senior Bowl MVP in consecutive years, so, I mean, they do have some leadership skills. Look, Spencer Rattler was the number 1 rated high school football player in the country coming out of Arizona.
Right.
Did a documentary for Netflix, QB1. He was shown in a not-so-positive light, kind of picking on one of his teammate quarterbacks in a competition. Didn't look good. There were some NFL GMs and coaches that spoke to, the head guys at ESPN, the Ian Rappaports, the Adam Schefter, and said, look, that documentary did play a factor in our decision not to take this kid. It wasn't a good look. Obviously, Spencer Rattler has had a lot of time since high school to mature. He was at Oklahoma, saw the writing on the wall, went to South Carolina. You mentioned the offensive line, was really fighting for his life. But the arm talent is absolutely there. There's no question about that. He can absolutely sling it. He's got a baseball player's throwing motion. He can whip it around, change his throwing direction, change his throwing angle, just like Patty Mahomes does. This kid has a huge upside for a 5th-round pick. I think the Saints, again, at a position of need, they have to fill up that. Nobody is thinking that Peterman is coming in to take a number 2 spot. It's Jake Haener, and it's going to be Spencer Rattler competing for that number 2 spot.
Yeah, I think that was the best player available.
Yep.
When they saw him, it's like, okay, we're not necessarily wanting a quarterback, but, man, this guy, we can't let this guy go, and that's why they got him. So I give that at least a B+ on that there. Bub Means comes in, a wide receiver, 5th round from Pitt. Again, another situation where the Saints they've been struggling with wide receivers. I get it. Obviously, we've had a number 1 wide receiver, but the 2, 3s, and 4s have not been just planning it right. This guy Means is fast. He's especially when he catches the ball and turns on the burners after that. When he catches the football, he's gone. I mean, this guy is unbelievable. So he comes in. I give that at least a B. The 3rd pick of the 5th round was Jalen Ford, linebacker from Texas. That was huge. Again, I think linebacker-wise, they're going to be – that is more of depth right there. Christian Boyd comes into the 6th round of the defensive tackle from Northern Iowa. And Josiah Ezram from Eastern Kentucky as an offensive tackle in the 7th round. Usually 7th round offensive tackles don't make it, but who knows? It could be a pick in the litter. All right, so I have a grade. Jonathan, what do you think your grade would be? I saw so many different grades. I saw one have an A+ for the Saints. I've seen one with B minuses. I've seen some with B pluses. What is your grade from the Saints draft, you think?
I'm going solid A. Not an A+,
Wow.
solid A, not an A-, because he hit almost every position of need, a best player available at that position when it was your turn to pick. Didn't feel the Saints had their, yearly annual reach that they've been famous for, pulling these D2 guys because they have that prototypical size. Hasn't worked out for the Saints. I thought they made the best pick available at the position of need when they came up. I gave them a solid A.
I give the Saints a B+, and I think that they've got some good backups. And this is what Dennis Allen had to say at his press conference after the draft. Just what he had to say.
Look, I think we added, 5 guys to our team. Obviously, this is an area in the draft where you're really talking about some developmental prospects, guys that probably come in and they're competing for backup spots. They're competing for back into the roster, practice squad, and hopefully they're people that and obviously we saw skill sets that we wanted to work with and try to develop. And look, special teams is an aspect of that. So I thought we did a nice job of adding some different pieces to our football team today.
All right, so there you go. That's what he said. Again, these are the 5 picks after the 2 picks they had. They had 3 picks in round 5 and then 6th and 7th round as well. So those are the 5 picks he was talking about, good backups and what have you. I think they got, like I said, I'd give them about a B+. But overall, the Saints have got to do something or we'll have a different coach there next year. Talking about the draft. Dennis Allen, I think, has 1 year left, and that's it. If they don't make the playoffs this year, I think Dennis Allen is gone. I really do. And look, it's going to eventually – Saints are always sometimes slow on pulling the trigger. Everybody blames Tom Benson and now Gail Benson. They don't call the shots. It's their president that calls the shots. It's the president, Tom Loescher, that calls the shots. I know his last name's Loescher. I think his first name – no, it's not Tom. I forgot what his first name is. Anyway, he calls the shots. Tom Benson didn't even know what a first down was in football when he bought the Saints. He didn't know how the distance was to get a first down. These guys are just business people. They don't know. They let their team president handle it, then their general manager from there, and all that stuff rolls down the hill. So Mickey Loomis, I think, is getting to the end of his career. If this is not going to make it, I think Loomis and I think Dennis Allen could be gone. Loomis has almost kind of talked about the day that he's going to say, I've had enough, I'm done, and he's going to retire. He's not going to call it out, this is my last season. He's going to say, this is it. That's what he said. That when I wake up one morning and I feel I don't want to do this anymore, he's going to call in and call a press conference, and he's done. And he's been a very successful general manager for the New Orleans Saints. But again, Dennis Allen, he better get this right. They have to make the playoffs this year. If they don't, I think that Dennis Allen's gone. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And look, so, and the reason that happens, again, Gail Benson's a business person. Her stock is at $6.1 billion. $6.1 billion. So with that being said, the season ticket list, the waiting list for the season tickets have gone from here to there. It's shrinking by the big times. And look, ever since 2005, Jonathan, they've sold that Superdome out every single season. When do you remember that we've had a game that was blacked out in our area because they didn't sell the Superdome out?
Yeah, no, it's been a long time. We used to have listen on the radio. I lived right outside of New Orleans. We couldn't get the game on TV because they'd have, Coca-Cola would buy 15,000 tickets so people could see it on TV if there was a good matchup.
Right.
But to go to your point, Chris, if the Saints don't make the playoffs, if the Saints don't look like they're going to make the playoffs, I don't think that Dennis Allen finishes the season as the head coach. And I'll give you a couple reasons why. One's named Bill Belichick. The other one's named Mike Vrabel. Right. Two accomplished winning head coaches don't have jobs right now. That is going to absolutely speed up the coaching carousel that will not make it to the end of the season. There will be coaches getting fired and coaches getting hired before the Super Bowl.
Jonathan, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Those are two great candidates right there.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. That is unbelievable. Those are two great candidates. Right? I'd love to see that. Now, you got me aroused there, Jonathan. I never told another guy that. That's unbelievable. I like that. I never thought of that. That would be two great coaching candidates. How in the hell does Vrabel not get it? Now, I know why Belichick didn't get it, because he's a control freak. Somebody told me, well, if they don't have McCarthy don't make it in Dallas, he's going to that'll be Belichick. No, he won't. Belichick will not have full control of the team. And not only that, you know the biggest problem that Belichick would never go to Dallas? They have a hotel that overlooks their practice facility. Oh, excuse me. It's not a hotel. It is it's one of their centers, AT&T Center. AT&T Business Complex overlooks the Dallas Cowboys practice facility in Frisco, Texas. Do you think Belichick will want that? When somebody can be taping him, that's what he does. He don't allow nobody else to do that. So they have an office complex that overlooks the Cowboys training facility right there in Frisco, Texas. There's no way Belichick would go for that. I'd love to see Belichick in New Orleans, or even that, even though I think Tom Brady was a big part. Now, I'll say this, though. The first three Super Bowls I think that they won, I think Belichick was big on that. I think the last three Super Bowls was all Tom Brady.
Chris, the Patriots are the only team in the NFL that actually had guys playing both ways. Like,
Yeah.
You're an athlete. We need a hole. There's a hole. Go fill it. Like, that is coaching. Knowing your personnel, how to execute, get the most out of those guys. They weren't taking wide receivers in the first draft. Tom Brady was throwing to guys that worked at Walmart in the offseason. I mean, these guys were under 6 feet tall and white. They weren't getting drafted high.
Right.
Somehow they made it work. They got the most out of what they had. That's what good coaching is.
Can you imagine? Belichick takes the head coaching job, and Vrabel don't get a job, so we make him defensive coordinator.
Hey.
And coach in waiting when Belichick is ready to go at age, what now, 71, he'll be 72 next year. Can you imagine that, Vrabel as defensive coordinator? Oh, wow. Jonathan, you got me excited, man. I'm done for the show. Bye, everybody. I'm done for the rest of the day. I'm excited. I'm going to get my Saints gear on, man. Are you nuts?
Some say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.
Oh, wow. I love it. All right, when we come back, it's a dumpster fire in New Orleans. We'll explain that when we come back. There's a good thing and bad thing coming in New Orleans this week, coming from New Orleans. We'll look at that when we return. It's Talking Sports with me, Chris Powers, right here on Pelican Sports TV. We already know that TJ Ribs on Acadian I-10 is home to the world-famous baby back ribs. But did you know they're also champs in catering events and the most delicious wings in Baton Rouge? TJ Ribs wings are flavored to perfection and start to party in your mouth. Served with homemade wing sauce and ranch dressing. TJ Ribs can also cater any event, large or small, with the MVP, the Heisman, or even if you're feeling the Natty Package. Call 225-283-1035. Come enjoy a drink at the 50-foot bar and take a picture with the Heisman Trophy at TJ Ribs, a Baton Rouge original for over 30 years on Acadian and I-10.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouger. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouger.
TV, of course, seen all over South Louisiana on Cox Cable. Flat out horrible. The New Orleans Pelicans, and they've been that way for the last month. It's just not even thinking. Look at some of the highlights we've got right here. Let me tell you what their playoffs right now, what their stats are. In the playoffs, they're hitting 40% from the field, 32% from three-point land. They're averaging 89.7 points per ball game in 3 games. That's not going to get it done. I think the only reason Game 1 was close is because Oklahoma only hit 43% from the field and had 13 turnovers in crucial times in that Game 1. That was the only reason that game was even close. This team is a dumpster fire. McCollum is shooting 38% from the field and leads the team in shooting and points. 38% from the field. Every one of the shots McCollum takes, he's going to miss it, it feels like. He's 23% from three-point land, and he has 4 turnovers per game. 4 turnovers per game. Not going to get it done. Ingram is even worse. 16 points a ball game, 42% shooting from the field, and getting schooled by Dart with OKC. This is just not even funny. This is embarrassing. This team does not even have players to take the Pelicans deeper in the playoffs. Is the problem the team president Griffin? Is it Green, the head coach? It seems like there's no discipline, that they don't fear Green when he comes down. And they're not doing what he says. This team is throwing the ball away, too many turnovers, a lot of the times they're standing around when they take shots, when the other team takes shots, and they don't block the shots. They get easy layups with 2 or 3 people around the goal. This team is definitely struggling, no question about that. This is just horrible. OKC started the year. They started their rebuilding the year we drafted Zion Williamson, and their team has gone from losing in the play-in game last year to being the number 1 seed in the West. And their team averages 24 years old. That's it. That's the starting age. That is the youngest team to be number 1 in the West in NBA history. Their average starting lineup is 24 years old. That's it. We can't rely on Zion Williamson. I don't think Zion Williamson is the biggest bust ever, but obviously he's not living up to what he was promised that he would be able to be right now. And this is just an absolutely just horrible situation right now for the New Orleans Pelicans. And you want to see how bad it is for the Pelicans? They have a playoff game tonight. Game 4 of the playoffs from New Orleans. It's on Bally Sports. It's not even on national TV tonight. It's not on TNT. It's not on ESPN. It's on NBA TV on Bally Sports. Is going to be covering it. Joel Meyer will be the play-by-play guy. That's I thought every playoff game was on national TV. This game is on NBA TV. Jonathan, that's just horrible. That's showing right now that it's just New Orleans has gone backwards. The Pelicans have gone backwards.
Chris, I'll just say that my family of 4 was offered tickets through my son's school for $30 a piece, and we respectfully declined. And look, you do have fun. It's an outing. I'm not going to waste my money to see a team give up. They straight quit on Coach Willie Green. Your best offensive weapon at the time is supposed to be Ingram. He's hiding in the corner. I mean, the opposite of aggressive. And you look at the rebounds that Oklahoma City is able to get, just the hustle rebounds. First on the floor, beating them to loose balls. It's 1-on-4 in the paint. They come away with the rebound. It's been embarrassing. The Pelicans have quit, and hate to tell you, I think they're going to get blown out again tonight.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say that old Saints thing. Like, remember in the old days the Saints weren't playing well? They put 2 tickets on their windshield for somebody whoever to take it, and they come back with 8. People had 8.
Right.
But, yeah, it's just bad, and I hate that. I don't know, what do you think about the TNT pre- and post-game show? I don't like that at all. Charles Barkley, Shaq. I love Shaq. Got a picture with Shaq in my phone. He's a great guy to meet, unbelievable guy. You can't understand what he's saying. He talks like he's got marbles in his mouth. They laugh about things that are not funny. They're not a good pre-game. They don't set the game up as well as they need to. And they're talking about they ought to move. They were laughing. They ought to move to Galveston or wherever. Come on. I'm not a big fan of that TNT NBA pregame show.
That pregame show is really just for laughs. I mean, it's stand-up comedy. I do find it very entertaining. I love Shaq and Charles together. Them two crack me up. I don't watch it to get informed about basketball.
Yeah.
They might have a couple stats that Ernie reads off, but I enjoy the race to the big board with Kenny. But it's just entertainment. I mean, look, and I love Shaq. And Shaq is a wealth of knowledge for basketball, but that's not why he's on the set. It's just to pick on Charles Barkley. It's not a very informative show, but I do get entertainment from it. I think they're hilarious.
So if you think the NFL refs are bad, if Major League Baseball calling the balls and strikes are bad, NBA officials are the worst I have ever seen in any sport, period. I'm seeing constant traveling. I mean, people make jokes about it on Saturday Night Live. Carrying the basketball. Notice that they're always carrying the basketball like this, over. You can't do that. They're taught that in Little League basketball. You can't carry the basketball. I'm seeing hard fouls that the Pelican players are being knocked down on the floor, no call, but little touch fouls were being called. This is horrendous to watch NBA officials nowadays. And look, the only time I gripe about officials is in that Saints-Rams game for the NFL and a couple of other times maybe here and there. But watching the NBA refs, it's a joke, Jonathan. It's a joke.
2 words, Chris. Tim Donahue.
Yes.
That's all I can think about when I watch these
exactly.
games.
That's
all I can think about.
That's what everybody's thinking right now. That's what everybody's thinking.
The fix is in.
They had a guy, it was in the playoffs, and I forgot what team it was, and I wish I'd be able to thought about it because I would be able to show the deal. He had 4 walks. He had 4 steps before he even, and they didn't call it. For instance, there was one of the games over at Oklahoma City, it was game 2, I believe it was, where Ingram got fouled. He missed the shot, but got fouled. But you can see in slow motion, they kept showing it over. He took 3 steps. Oh, my God. Remember the day, I don't know if you remember the days, you might be young, so I don't remember the days Kevin McHale had a great shot. He wouldn't move his pivot foot, and he'd make a turnaround, and he would make it. And they had refs that would call the traveling on him, but he wasn't traveling. You could see he wouldn't move his pivot foot. But he did that all the time. In this day and age, he could do that and make 2 more steps and make a turnaround shot. It is horrible.
So, Chris, we were taught to use the jump stop, to use your pivot foot. Well, now you get 4 steps on a layup in approach. You can come to a jump stop, then have what's called a Euro step through. So you've completely given up your pivot foot, but it's not walking somehow because now you have a Euro step through. That's a legal move. You mentioned the carrying. It's called the hesitation drill because now they gave all these new names to these. They used to be penalties, but now they just have these new. Like the hesitation drill just gives you time to collect. If you can collect the ball without it taking like more than an egregious amount of time, they will not call carrying. What's an egregious amount of time? It is up to the referee's discretion. The only problem I have with the NBA is the referees have direct control of points on the board. They're called free throws for a reason. They're supposed to be free points for the team. You put one team on the line 19 times and a half. The other team goes to the line 6 times and a half. One team's going to have a better opportunity to score. It's just simple math. I'm not a genius, but that's how math works.
I just want to see consistency. If you're going to call this touch fouls, call them all game. Both teams, I have no problem with that. I'm not watching tonight's game. Obviously, I don't have Bally's TV. I don't have NBA TV as well. We won't be able to watch Game 4. And I'm like you. I think they get beat because of the fact they've won 1 out of their last 7 ball games at home. So I don't see them winning this today. All right, LSU baseball, softball, and the Zurich Classic. We'll talk about that when we come back as we continue to talk sports with me, Chris Powers, right here on Pelican Sports TV.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouger. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouger today.
We already know that TJ Ribs on Acadian I-10 is home to the world-famous baby back ribs. But did you know they're also champs in catering events and the most delicious wings in Baton Rouge? TJ Ribs wings are flavored to perfection and start to party in your mouth. Served with homemade wing sauce and ranch dressing. TJ Ribs can also cater any event, large or small, with the MVP, the Heisman, or even if you're feeling the Natty Package. Call 225-283-1035. Come enjoy a drink at the 50-foot bar and take a picture with the Heisman Trophy at TJ Ribs, a Baton Rouge original for over 30 years on Acadian and I-10. All right, welcome back, everybody, as we continue to talk sports with me, Chris Powers, here on Pelican Sports TV, seen 5 times this week all over Cox Cable and seat of the New Orleans metro area. 89% of the New Orleans metro area has Cox. Also 400,000 people in the Baton Rouge area and 140,000 just in Lafayette alone. LSU baseball got back on track a little bit this weekend. They won their 2nd straight series, this time over the Auburn Tigers. They've won 6 out of the last 8 games now, with Saturday's walk-off single by Josh Pearson that could propel this team going forward. Who knows? They're still 7-14 in SEC play. That That's step one, because I think step one, they got to make the SEC tournament to make the NCAA tournament. Right now, they are not listed as making the NCAA tournament at all. In anybody's prediction, they're not going to make the NCAA tournament. All right, so they got to win 2 out of 3, and even understand this: winning 2 out of 3 would be even difficult for them against number 1 Texas A&M this weekend at Alex Box Stadium. They got 9 games left in the SEC, 9, and they're 7-14 right now. So let's say they win 7 of those games, they would be 14-16. That's just not going to work. It's not going to work. So I think their time. And they got to make the SEC. If they make the SEC tournament, they can make a run and possibly get into the NCAA tournament that way. So we'll see how that works out. LSU softball, it's amazing. They lost another series again this weekend. They won 1-0 yesterday. They've won 2 SEC series this season. All right, and they have none left. They have no SEC series left. But they're the number 3 team in RPI, and that's what NCAA tournaments go by. How crazy is that? So they played Liberty this week in Baton Rouge. The Zurich Classic was just that, an absolute classic. Let's show some of the highlights right here. Shane Lowry and Rory McIlroy, they win it, and it was unbelievable. The crowd was the biggest crowd in tournament history. They had the most fun. This was impressive to see that, no question about that. It was huge for this tournament. The crowds were massive, and for Rory McIlroy, who's one of the second best, I guess, behind Tiger Woods as far as popularity goes, for him to win this tournament, that was huge for this tournament for future games. Right now, this tournament is on fire. There's no question about that. That was the missed putt right there that has the guys from Ireland. Big Irish party in Bourbon Street today, and because of Lowry, and Lowry was the weak link, there was no question. McIlroy carried him yesterday especially, and really in Saturday's match as well. But big deal with that. Jeff Duncan from NOLA.com says this was the best tournament ever. And you want to talk about other tournaments, the Masters, you want to talk about those kind of tournaments, the Phoenix Open, the RBC, and what have you. By the way, McIlroy dropped out of the RBC tournament the week before to play in this tournament, and that's huge. Next week, the Byron Nelson Classic has 1 top 20 golfer, period. Now, you want to ask if Rory McIlroy is going to be back next year? What other tournament would this happen? Look at this after the tournament was over, and they're the champions. Look how they celebrated. Isn't that awesome? Rory McIlroy said he had an unbelievable time. Every restaurant he went to, he got standing ovation. He said for sure he's going to be back next year. He and Lowry will be back to defend their title next year. Awesome with that. Again, the Byron Nelson Classic, 1 top 20 player playing this coming week. All right, that'll do it for me. Chris Powers, thanks, Jonathan, Alan, Marty, everybody around. Thank you so much. Had a great time, as we'll be back next week to talk sports with me, Chris Powers.